Hello and welcome today to the Writer Inspired Show, one of my deep dive series. And we're speaking to Jilenne. Is that correct? Is that how I pronounce your name?
Actually, Jilene, like Jack and Jill, Jilene.
Right, okay. My pronunciation is also absolutely awful. I used to call Penelope. So
Uh,
I got
Life
that.
of cantaloupe. What can I say? I get called all kinds of stuff. So,
Yeah, okay, well, I'll try and be nice to you. I'll try not to get it wrong. Really welcome to join us today. I really appreciate you spending the time having a chat. Just give us a little bit about yourself, and then I'll start asking a few questions, if you will.
okay. I live in the United States in Central Florida. I have been married 47 years to my wonderful husband. And
Congratulations.
thank you. We have 4 children and 19 grandchildren.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, so life is interesting. So
It is.
yeah, and one of my favorite things is to be grandma. So,
Wicked.
but about 4 years ago, I started working on my book, and it started out to be for the grandkids. But the more I got into it, the more I realized it had a much, much, much more wide audience.
Okay.
And so I'm writing a series, and I just finished book one and published it 2 weeks ago. And it's called A Heart Full of Precious Memories. It's a delightful glimpse into the childhood, a girl's childhood between 1950s and 1960s. And it's based in mid-America in the United States. So it's been fun. I have been really overwhelmed at the response to the book because I tried very hard to make it an upbeat book.
Yeah.
From the beginning, I wanted it. We all have things that we go through that are traumatic, but I wanted to give the reader like a little island of peace and something to giggle about. And there's some tender moments in there, but it's mainly to just kind of sit back, think about, and refresh, and maybe even think about possibly writing your own book. So it's a memoir, but
Okay.
very excited about it.
Yeah. No, non-fiction. So it's from your own what experience you've had. Okay.
Right, right.
Yeah. Amazing. So you released that a couple of weeks back.
Yes, actually, June 2020.
Wicked.
So memorable. And there's a whole lot about my family, but I thought in the United States, the 21st was Father's Day, so it was kind of a nice thing, to do for Dad. He's been gone for a long time, but my grandchildren, none of them got to meet him, so it'll be fun for them to read about him, and my mom and my sisters and everybody else. So,
Yeah.
oh.
And how did you get on with it? So where have you been advertising it or anything like that, or just sort of like you released it?
Well, I am just getting started out. I gave away 120 books.
Okay.
I've got sales in 5 countries, which really amazed me. I did not expect that. And a review in one country. I've got 8 reviews in the States, and they've all been very, very positive reviews. So I'm very excited about that. But my sales are seriously lacking because I did not promote, and I that is my huge weakness. So
Yeah. So what countries did your book
it went to Switzerland, and that's where the review that I got. It went to Canada, India. 2 people bought them in India. Somebody that I had met at a restaurant here, and let's see, Canada
Okay, that's wicked.
and Italy. In
Oh,
Italy.
in Italy.
So,
Yeah, that's amazing. So obviously you've got some reviews, which is fantastic. So are you planning to do any advertisement in the future, or you just
that's what I was working on today. So
okay?
I've been so overwhelmed. My computer broke on Sunday, so that was kind of a huge setback. And so now I'm, getting my feet back on the ground and running again. So I'm trying to invest into that Somebody told me to go BookBubs first, and so I'm checking into that first as soon as I get
Yeah.
off here. And outside of that, I have been working on Facebook. I've got over 100 people on my Jilenne Williams author page.
Okay.
So far, I don't know really what to do with it, but I do have a lead magnet. I made the lead magnet where it coincided with the book. So as people read the book and it reminded them of things in their own childhood, they could jot notes, so that when they got done with the book, they would have basically a skeleton to write their own childhood memoir. So that's fun. And so that's, and I've been building a Pinterest page forever. And every time I wrote something in the book, I'd find something to put on the Pinterest page, but I have not transferred them over to my author Pinterest yet.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. Say what one, because there's loads of advertising platforms, if that's the right word to use, that you can go for. So which one do you love doing the most? Have we got all, we still sort of trying to work out which one?
I have no idea, honestly. I've always been the type of person to make and do and build and whatever, but sales is like somebody else do it, So I enter it with fear and trembling, So it's not that I don't think my product's great, because I do think it's great. I just have this real challenge with trying to sell anything. I think I look at people, I look at people like, well, what can they afford? And trying to make up their mind instead of making up my mind, which is hard.
Yeah. As I can totally relate, sales at the moment, but sales anyway, it's really difficult, and it's about building things up and getting things forward. I could suggest Facebook ads. I could suggest Amazon marketing services, or Amazon ads as it's called. I could suggest BookBub. I could suggest another one that I'm starting to really go into at the moment is Pinterest ads. But really, the most important one for me is you could. I was talking to a lady earlier, and you could do all of them and just get exhausted. So it is key to perhaps look at one. But you could do stuff like you do a launch. So if you wanted to think about in a few weeks' time, once things have died down a little bit more and people are back to work, there might be an opportunity for you to go, right, I want to do a proper launch, and I want to go, do it free for 2 days or whatever, and then build up momentum, and then go 99 cents, and there's some paid sites. I mean, it's up to you. Obviously, you're not going to get much money back from that, if I'm honest, but it does bring your visibility up, and that may be an option for you potentially. Right. But again, I'll happily talk you through that in a bit more detail if you want to. But yeah, so do 2 or 3 weeks of that and pushing it, and then look at long term. Look at one of them. I'd probably look at, again, it's difficult. Non-fiction for me, I found really difficult on the Amazon marketing, but I've then just left it. So it's in France, it's in Germany, it's in Italy, and Spain. I think I'd switch off most of them apart from France. I think by accident, and I left it for a couple of months, and all of a sudden it started making sales, because I think that Amazon have actually realised who actually wants my book, and are able to do it, because I used to tweak it every 5 minutes and spend hours every single day, and that's the wrong way to do it. So that's really sort of like in a nutshell, is perhaps growing it that way. But I'm quite happy to talk you through that if you want.
Right. Well, I actually have gone through my launch. I just didn't back up with the advertising, which was not real smart. It's like, I've been working on this 4 years, and I thought, I'm just setting a date. I don't care if I'm not ready. it's going, And if I have to catch up, I have to catch up. But, I'm not getting any younger.
No, that's fine. It's fine to say you can do that, or you can go, actually, I'll leave it and I'll write another book. It's entirely up to you. But if it's something you want to do, start to build the sales, then that's what I'd recommend perhaps you do, and get that launch back up again. But,
right. I got it at 99 cents right now, and I decided I'd keep it that way until July the 12th. So that should give me some time to get some ads up, So what would you recommend first for ads?
Personally, again, you're not going to get much return, but places like, there's some paid ad sites that I would probably recommend you look at. So there's And again, it's up to you, but you can go, if you want to go 99 cents, then there's places like Bargain Booksy, there's places like, I'm just trying to think of a few that are really, Robin Reed's is pretty good as well, having a look at them, but again, you're looking at quite a bit of money, so you just have to look at what you feel is more justifiable, but I'm quite happy to send you over, I've got a breakdown of them, which ones they are. I'm quite happy to send that over to you, and that'll probably be able to help you too.
I appreciate that.
It's one of the best ones to look at, but again, price-wise, is quite a lot of money. But again, you know, there's Fussy Librarian as well, if memory serves me. So that's another one. But yeah, there you go.
Now, I had a question about your Facebook, because I was going over some other things that you had done.
Yeah.
I'm not on there every day, but I try to catch up when I can. But you had said something about your regular Facebook page and your business Facebook page. So can you, I just got the Facebook business page, but I noticed that nobody was responding to it, even though I have people liking it. I don't know how to allow them to respond, or is that a possibility?
Yeah. Okay. Right. So, in a nutshell, you've got your profile, so your normal personal profile, and then obviously the business page that you've set up. Now, I think that there's a great opportunity, and they have limited a lot more Facebook with amount of people that actually gets out to reach to you in your personal profile. But there's a great opportunity for you to reach out to people and talk to people and build a relationship on there. Now, also, if you look on the business page, they know that you are a business, so they squash the reach to minimal. So you can have 10,000 people that like your business page, but only 3,000, for example, it reaches, or even less. They want you to pay for it. So that's the thing that you need to be wary of. It's helpful in some respects, and when you're doing Facebook ads, it just gives you that sort of social sort of like proof that people like your page. But overall, it's not a great thing. It does help as well. So if you've got a Facebook page that people like it, and you've set up a group, you can bring people in that like it. So that's that helpful. But overall, it's just a sort of like a stat to say that, you know, you're fairly well known, and that's really all it is to want to. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, because I liked the way that you do like these off the wall questions, which you make you think, you know. So I started doing some things based on my book. Mine are more complicated, and I probably need to make them less complicated than you know, just make it more natural. Like, because I got a lot of good responses just on the one that was on my regular page, just asking, you know, what's your first best memory, you know, kind of thing, you know, because I start off in my book as a toddler, you know. So so I got some really great stories that people started telling about themselves, which was exactly what I was wanting the book to do anyway, you know. So but I when I tried to move that over to the business side, I didn't get anything. You know, so I was like, what happened? Where'd everybody go? You know, this tells me I have 100 people, but nobody's seeing it. So I understand now.
Yeah, and that's what Facebook would do. Facebook would deliberately squash it right back. So it's not the fact that they're ignoring it, it's the fact that they're not actually receiving it in the first place, which is quite harsh. And say I've got about 1,300 on mine, and you sometimes the reach is like 58, 60 people. It's like, you know, it's awful. But there's so many options you've got available to you. And I do recommend more that you work on your personal profile and you set up your profile so that people will look at you, and people stalk. You know they do. They look on your profile and go, oh, wow, you know, she's got a book, and just bringing them into your audience and getting to know them a little bit more, and having your profile set up so that's like that. So that's what I would personally recommend looking at doing. And the last thing really, as far as sales driving is concerned, how many categories have you got your book set up in, and have you set your keywords up as well?
Oh, okay. I did do the keywords. I when I first put the book in, I put undesignated category, which was, and I didn't get back in there right away because I couldn't figure. I did, but I didn't hit publish. And so I'm sitting there scratching my head for days wondering, you know, how come they're not changing my categories? And so I called this nice person in the UK and they told me exactly what to do, and they fixed it all for me. And I was like, okay, I just need to finish what I start, you know. So it's kind of like trying to pay a bill. You get it all set up and forget to hit pay. So, Yeah. I went to the race, but nobody showed up. So, oh, anyway, yeah. So, but I do have my keywords. One of them seems to be doing good. I did get number one new book. In the one category. There's I'm under John Wayne and you know, and things like that. It's been General MacArthur, and so it's a 1950s history category, but it is history, because I purposefully wrote about the history of the area that I lived in, because in the United States, we tend to tear things down instead of leaving them around like you guys do. And so, and rebuild and rebuild and rebuild. And nobody has any idea what was there before, So, I mean, you drive down the street and two weeks later, you go, what was in that? What was in that corner? I don't remember, So in my book, I wrote a great detail about exactly where I lived and what was going on in the area, So, and people seem to appreciate that, which is good.
Okay, so got another question with that actually. So your keywords you've set up, categories you can have a maximum of 10, and what you can do, you can set up 2 in when you're saying hit and published, but also you can send an email to Amazon to ask them to put another 8 on, and that. And I don't want to complicate it too much, but you can do that for every single Amazon. So Amazon.co.uk, Amazon Netherlands, Amazon whatever. But obviously keep it simple.
Okay.
By doing that, I did it for the US and the UK. By doing that, you're raising your visibility straight away because you're in different categories and people are going to buy it. But one thing that sort of like sparked me a little bit when you're saying that your book is towards a history of where you live. Have you thought about reaching out to several independent bookshops and saying, I've got this book, would you be interested in us going, doing some sort of deal together where, you get money and I get money for selling my book? Have you thought about, have you done any of that?
Yeah, well, it's not in print yet. It's still ebook. So as soon as I get that done, I have visions of them in very special places in my hometown, which is halfway across the country. But I have visions of different outlets that I really, really want to tap into that I think will be good, especially when I get to the audio part. Because it'll be a great book to travel with, so when people are on vacations with their families and things, this crazy, this crazy girl, what'd she do? So, and I also mention a lot of traveling in my book too, so that is a natural tie-in, which will be very good, I think.
Yeah.
So, Then the Pinterest, you said you're going to, I know that's a down the road thing, I've been told, even though I've got a lot of back up, there. When somebody gets started with an actual business Pinterest, what is your advice on that?
Sure. Well, basically with that is, it's really simple to set up and you need to try and find some groups that will help you. But overall, just start pinning other people's pins and also your own. So it's time consuming, but you can perhaps do sort of 4 or 5 a day of your own and grow it like that and have a link. If you're a blog writer, Pinterest can be fantastic because there's a lot of organic growth that you can actually get through if you keep posting on a regular basis. I think the ads are actually at the moment very, very good because they're not saturated too much. And I'm finding that I'm getting a bit of benefit from that, not through sales, but through my emails. So I'm paying for people to go and join my email list through that. I'm happy. I took it down. It was actually in the group, but I've still got my Pinterest collab, which I'm going to sell as a course, but I'm happy to send it over to you. It's not finished by any stretch of the imagination. It's not polished, but it goes through the simple points for you. It will show you how to set your business page up. It will go through how you need to have your keywords on your actual business page. It will go through Canva, how to help you with Canva.
I love Canva.
It's amazing, isn't it? Absolutely amazing.
I actually did my book cover on Canva.
Did you?
Yes, I did. And, you know, I kept thinking, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. You know, I probably did 100 covers before I finally got done. And then at the very last, I mean, like 3 days before I published, I changed my subtitle. So then I had to go back and redo everything, you know, to catch it up. And I was like, oh, I forgot this one, you know. So, but I did get it in the book right. So that's good. Oh, that's nuts.
I love Canva. It's so much good. I use it every single day. You know,
Hmm.
probably see on the posts I use Canva. I use Canva for the events. On my book, my next book's coming out. I'm gonna try and do that. I'm trying to find a way of getting the paperback as well on Canva. Not too sure I'll be able to do it, but I'm gonna try and see if I can tweak that and see if that works. But yeah, I love Canva. It's adorable. But yeah, it goes all through that, how to set it up, pin up as well, what sort of thing
Hmm.
to look at. So I'll have to send that over to you. But again, it's not perfect. It's still got a lot of work to go, but it'll be helpful to you, I'm sure.
I
So
appreciate that.
you're welcome. So the thing I want to get into now is your vision. So I'd love you to talk to me. You know, so 3 to 5 years down the road, you know, you're sitting with 35 grandkids, and
And great grandkids by that time. Oh yeah, the oldest right now is 20 and the youngest is less than a year. So
okay, yeah, that's
yeah,
possible.
yep, it is. It is. So it's fun. 3 or 4 years down the road, my husband should be retired by then. And I would love, one of the things I would really enjoy, I think, is helping other people write their books, their
Okay.
memoirs,
Mm,
and to help them see, especially if they've had a rough childhood,
yeah,
help them to find the good, you know, because a lot of people, they'll look back at their childhood and all they can think of is the hard times, you know, and you know, some people have said about my book, you know, that you know, it was a wonderful time and all this. Well, there were times that were not so wonderful, but I chose not to write about those. I chose to, well, there's a verse in the Bible about thinking on good things and whatsoever is pure and whatsoever is good, you know, to think on those things. And so that kind of was a momentum as I was writing to make it a happy thing, you know. And there were a couple times when I had to actually stop when I was writing, to grieve over some things, you know, that had happened in my life. And I couldn't go any further until I dealt with those. So it was a very cleansing thing to write the book. Um, but those are not the things that I wanted for other people to have to go through. You know, I wanted them to go through the fun stuff, you know,
yeah,
or the tender stuff, you know, and because life's hard, you know, and it can be very, very hard. And but we don't have to stay there. We can go, we can enjoy life, we can see the beauty in it, and we can encourage each other and make the world a better place. When I my motto in my book is the world's a brighter place when you warm another's heart.
yeah,
And so I wrote that probably 30 years ago. I wrote that down. And I've kind of hung on to that, you know, because like I go to the grocery store and I smile at people, and it's a little harder now with masks, but you can see it in the eyes, you know. You know, and I've been known to look at somebody that's not smiling at all, and I said, "You're not smiling. Would you like mine?" I'll get, and they walk away, you know, scratching their head, but they're smiling, you know, and they're happier, you know, which is a wonderful thing to be able to do. I feel like it's a gift from God, you know, to
mm,
be able to do that. I just enjoy life, you know, and even the hard times are hard, but I enjoy life and beyond it, because I know it's going to be over, and all the bad stuff's going to go away eventually, you know.
yeah,
So that'll be good. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and then my husband just reminded me, he's sitting here. I want to write 3 more in my series.
yeah,
And then I want to write some other books. There's one that kind of keeps getting to me every time I get on online, and somebody wants to have an infomercial. And I already got the name of the book. It's Cut to the Chase. You know? And so, because so many, you get an infomercial, they salt the oats, you figure, okay, I want to know what the carrot is. You get in there, and then 3 hours later, you still have no idea what they were talking about, So I want to make a very short and succinct book about how to say what you want to say in as few words as possible and get your point across, So that's, that's the other side of me. Oh. So then as far as the book is concerned, maybe touring, and going back to my home, and maybe visit the libraries and museums, and because it has the historical nature, to be able to get them in those places would be really a lot of fun, and maybe have some book signings and things like that. So we'll see.
How do you want to feel in 5 years' time? So you've got these book signings, Barnes and Noble, I'm sure, is one of them that you'd love to be able to be in. But how do you want to feel in sort of 5 years' time?
I want to feel that what I have written has glorified God, number one. Number two, that I have lifted spirits, that people are had a minute at least, or however long that took to read the book to just get refreshed. And I want to be able to look back and see that that there is that little island you can get to once in a while, and that they can make that themselves too, So I want to help them get to their own island, I guess.
Yeah, that's noble. You want to inspire others, don't you?
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, what's your biggest challenge at the moment?
Advertising. Advertising.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm creative. I enjoy the creativity, but knowing when to stop, and push, publish or push, sell or whatever. That's a little harder for me, and I just need to get over that and realize, and I could beat myself if I wanted to, that I didn't let it go sooner, because of the responses that I'm getting, but God's timing is perfect. And so I'm not going to argue with him.
So it's basically sales and pushing your book. You've got other books you want to sort of bring out. Are you, one of the things that I would suggest as well, obviously this is not more strategy, but start building your email list, and you can do that through Pinterest, and having a lead magnet. Obviously you've got one in your book, haven't you? Where about in your book? Have you got it at the front or the back?
In the front.
Have you got it in the back as well?
I did not put it in the back. I didn't even think about that. Actually I did. I did put a contact page in the back. So it's in the front and the back. Yes.
I personally would recommend, as soon as someone's put the book is the end of the book, you've done the last part of it, end chapter, I'd put in a lead magnet there too, because those people that read your book through to the end and love it, they're the ones the most valuable out of all of them, because they're the best. They love your book, so they're going to want to know more about you. So I do recommend it. So it's entirely up to you. It's just an invitation to look at. Okay. But I found that it's been quite productive for me, and you get loads more people sort of like being more engaging because they've already read your book and know who you're about. So right. And then obviously
I didn't think about putting the lead magnet in the back. I just put my email address and website, but a lead magnet would be pretty smart. So what do I do next? Let's traipse through the teenage years next. Try to find something happy there. But
yeah, sorry, what we're going to say?
I don't know. Go ahead.
It's in honesty, just building your audience, and then just following, I can't even speak, funneling them into your email list. You know, always have somewhere where that's the main goal of where you want to take people. That's something I've learned recently. That's where you know, if you take them to that place, so you and again decide whether you want a newsletter once a month, once every 3 months, or once a week, whatever you feel most comfortable. But just do it to start build that relationship more. So people buy your book, you know, they'll join your email list. You know, then you're starting to talk to them, and then you'll get more feedback on what your book is. You get more inspiration. You know, you're going to feel better about it as well. So you know, there's that opportunity for me, and that's what I would perhaps sort of like recommend for you to go forward. And again, you know, if you've got your lead magnet in the back and you've got it at the front, then you'll be spending quite a bit of money on advertising on these paid sites, and you'll find that people will be joining your group as well.
Okay.
So that's a great thing. So that sort of maybe sort of like supplement a little bit of the money that you've spent on these things. Okay. Is there any questions you'd like to ask me before we go into a little bit more?
Oh, let's see. Off the wall question. I know that you're in Great Britain. Are we supposed to say Great Britain? Are we supposed to say United Kingdom? Are we supposed to say England? What is the proper way to address people from there?
Yeah, I would say it's personal preference, but I'm from England, and obviously I say UK, United Kingdom. They've sort of devolved a little bit more now compared to what it used to be. And, you know, people would say, to, you know, Scotland, you're from England, you know, they get insulted because they don't like it. But, you know, it's in England for us, Scotland, Wales, and obviously Ireland, you know, but United Kingdom, Great Britain's fine, but personal preference for me is England.
I appreciate you explaining that.
No worries.
Excuse me. But but I appreciate you, Christopher, and all that you're doing, and you're a great encouragement to all of us. So
thank you. As I say, you know, you're talking about writing memoirs, writing your first memoir. You know, my first book, to be honest with you, I didn't leave out the bad stuff because obviously I was anxiety and everything I went through. So writing can be very cathartic, can be my therapy, and that's what it was for me. And I had to sort of deal with a lot of stuff that I didn't realize I had from a 10-year-old boy, which I had to deal with writing my book. And you know, there can be challenges that come from that, and sometimes you're not able to write. So have you had any times when you've been writing where you've said, I can't write because this has just exhausted me?
Yes. Yes. Oh, definitely. Definitely. One of the things that I did was I did a Google search over the area that I actually lived in, and it looks like it's been bombed out. And I did not expect it. I knew that the area had gone down a lot, but I did not expect to see trees growing inside of houses. I did not expect, you know, roofs totally gone. You know, my house was gone, which I knew, but when you do an aerial view on Google of an area and you know what it was, and then you see what it is, it can rip your guts out, you know. I mean, it really was very hard for me, you know, and it's a totally different place. Now, of course, you know, 50 years before I was born, it was a different place too. So, you know, as time progresses, but it hits us hard because we are so finite, you know, and, you know, if we were infinite, you know, we could grasp that, but being finite beings, it's very hard to see huge changes in your life or in areas that you lived or places that you've been to or whatever, you know. So that was an eye-opener for me, and very, very difficult. And then when I had my book reviewed for editing, that was the other devastating thing, you know, getting it back and feeling like somebody just set it up against the wall and threw red paint at it, you know. Yeah, that's the other devastating times.
my last book I sent out, and she sent it back. She did such a thorough job, but everything was sort of like read this wrong, that's wrong. You said, oh my word, right, okay, fantastic, thank you for doing this, but still.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
you love me hard, I know, but you have to be so ornery about it, you know. So, oh yeah, life. So anyway, yeah, it's been fun. It's fun. In fact, my husband's actually writing a book now about the miracles in his life, you know, too. So it's fun watching him go through what I went through, and we've laughed, we've cried a lot over both books, and it kind of having him as not only a wonderful husband but a great partner in this venture has has really drawn us closer together, and seeing, you know, what we had seen in our lives that we had never talked about even in all the years that we've been married. I was like, I didn't know that. So yeah, it's amazing.
Which yeah, it is. It's absolutely amazing. I did it with, you know, my wife sort of read things about me that it does. It brings you really a lot closer. And again, you know, you have to sort of coach him through all the turmoil and trauma that you have to go through to write a book as well. You know, it's an amazing experience, and I recommend anybody write it. But you know, it is difficult to write. You know, don't get me wrong. You know, there's a stat, isn't there, for the New York Times. I always say this about, they did a study, and they found that 81% of Americans want to write a book, only 1% actually publish, and that the reason is because that you have to face everything for you to actually write this book. A case of going to work and just writing things down. You have to face your own challenges yourself. So the last question I'd like to ask, and it's going to be a little bit morbid, but I'd like to know, how do you want to be remembered? So when you hit 110, 150 years old, you know, and what legacy would you like to leave for your family and the world, if I'm honest?
Okay, number one, that I loved God with all my heart.
Okay.
Number two, that I loved people, that I cared. You know, those are the main two things, you know, that I want to leave. I'm not interested in monuments or anything like that. I'm just interested in just leaving that legacy of and trust, and that there's hope.
Yeah. Apologies, I don't know if you can hear my dog barking. He's
Yeah.
barking at a bird.
Oh, that's fine. I'm used to that. I have a Doberman under my feet.
Let's say, for me, the great thing as well about, I don't know whether you know, but when you write a book and you publish it, after you die, it lasts 70 years. So whoever in your family will still get royalties 70 years after your death, which I think is absolutely amazing. So that for me is leaving a legacy. You know, that's what I'm hoping to do with mine. I'm hoping to do loads of books. I don't know how many. I won't be getting to the Barbara Cartland sort of 700 plus books like that she did, but I'm certainly going to try and write as many as possible. And I think we can both relate. What you want to do is inspire people, and very nostalgic view on life in the past, and sort of bringing people together and through memories, which I think is pretty amazing, if I'm honest. And you should be proud of what you've done so far, and I'm excited to see where you go next, if I'm honest, and what your next book is. But as far as your book's concerned, you can more than welcome to put it in the group when you're doing self promo, new release, this is where it is, and I'd like to perhaps do a review for you as well, if that's okay with you.
I love it.
Yeah, welcome. And say, is there any questions you'd like to ask me before we?
Not that I can think of, because you've given me a lot to chew on already. So I'm going to have to look to the review of this and say, okay, he said this, he said this, he said this. Okay, this is what I do. Oh, my husband has a question real quick. What?
When you go to Ancestry.com and you read about your ancestors, you don't know what happened.
Okay.
There's no history.
Okay.
A lot of history things are destroyed in floods.
Okay. I do Ancestry, and this was another thing that I reckoned with as I was going through my book. Going through and when you're trying to find your roots and you're trying to find your ancestors, you find that there's very little information. other than legal documents and sometimes an article or two, unless they're very famous people. And so as you're doing that, you're thinking, well, what are these people like? What did they do? How come I'm like that? How come I do the things that I do? But if you have those stories, like there's a few in my husband's family, his name's Steve, that there are books, that are about the family. And so you have some real treasures there, but the rest of the family, we don't have anything on, just whatever was told to grandma, that she passed on down from whatever, and no documentation whatsoever, for most of the things. So that's another reason, another motivation for me writing my books is to give them a chance to go back. Oh, okay. Like, what was it like back then, for our family, or a member of our family. So.
That's amazing. My dad is really into ancestry, and when he sort of like he's gone right back to, I think, 15th century. I think it's pretty cool. But he would pick up a book and he'll read what it was like then. But having that would be even better, because obviously you're actually really seeing the people that, what their experiences and stuff. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, you're more than welcome. Is there any questions you'd like to ask us before we finish?
Not unless you have some other thoughts about what I could do, to develop the next story.
Okay. For me, really, it's looking at the big picture and saying, right, okay, this is where I need to go to, and just giving yourself like a 10, 15-year plan, really, and just sort of like growing like that. And for me, when you start growing your audience, they'll start telling you. And that's the thing that and I was particularly my 8th book, when I got to a few more people, they were quite vocal about what they liked about the book, what they didn't like about the book, and what was missing from the book, and stuff like, I can't afford to write a book, how do you do it? And I thought, I need to write a chapter on that, and stuff like that, and that's really what I would recommend you do, and especially when you get to the point, and obviously self-editing is awful, and then you obviously edit the book and then you send it over to your beta readers. That's an opportunity for you too then. Probably not the greatest answer for you, but that's probably the best I've got for you, unfortunately. As I say, that's what
I'll go with that.
The biggest thing for me is what you would love to do most. So, put your hand on your heart. How would you want to do your next book? How would you want to be laid out? And you'll find that you have experiences from your first book that will help you for the second one. And that's what I found. And I found that actually my first book was good. I cringe at it now, but because that's 3 or 4 years ago, I wrote it, and that's my first book, and you get better with each one, so you learn and improve that way too. So there might be an opportunity. I am very when I write, I'm very sort of like, I don't try and difficult to explain, but I'm not very regimented with what I put. So some people go, I'll do a mind map and write it all down and spirograph and stuff like that. For me, that feels constricting. So my writing is rubbish. I prefer doing a few chapters, a few ideas from that chapters, and let my brain just think it through. So I'll be in the shower, I'll be thinking about it, and then things will just come to me, and then I'll write it down and put my Evernote, and then I just let it flow most of the time. So I go, right, today I'm writing this chapter, and I'll just let it all come out. That's something to do, and then I find that it's more authentic, it's more original, and I could do it like that. So that's what I would probably recommend.
Yeah, I think what you're saying there is a really good point, because if you're writing nonfiction, it's easier to sit down and do your mind map and have key points. But when you're doing a story or a memoir, it's a little different, because as you're writing, these other things invade you, that you have to decide, okay, is this coming in, or is it not going to come into this work that you're doing? So I see where you're coming from, and I can really relate to that. Yeah, because I did the mind map and then I left it and I did my own thing. So I understand.
And the thing that about with that, and not to worry about, because then you start going, because you've got this big sort of mind map. Oh, I need to get that in. That needs to go in. That needs to go in. No, don't worry about it. Let it flow, and whatever goes in, and not trying to, worry about what you've not put in and what's been missed and all that sort of stuff. And always for me, it always felt, because I did it for my first book, it always felt like a stick to beat with. you've not done that, you missed out, and it should be a
Right.
joy. It should be something coming from the heart, especially a memoir, about out of all of them, because I did a bit of research in memoirs. Out of all of them, it's very much about the emotional side of it, and for people, and it's not about stats, is it? It's not. It's just about a journey of an emotion of what things were like and what experiences were had, rather than sort of like this happened and this happened and this happened. You need that sort of feeling from it. And if you get a mind map, for me, it takes sort of emotion away, and that's the most key thing for a memoir. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I went through home movies, and I went through all of the pictures, and I organized them by year, and that kind of helped feed in places that I needed to fill in. Also, I found out that sometimes would write the same subject 3 different times throughout the whole writing. So I had to go back, and Scrivener was very helpful there because I could put in the word and they'd find all the chapters in this. And so then I could condense it to where I wanted it to be. Because sometimes in writing memoirs, you cannot do it on a timeline if things cycle, because life has cycles. And so you don't want every chapter to have traveling in it, or every chapter to have softball in it, or whatever. You kind of set it aside at some time and put all of those years together, but then you kind of insert them as you go through growing up, so to speak. So
Thank you very much. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we finish?
no, just everybody, yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this. And so I got another notch. So I appreciate the opportunity. And I just wish everybody the best and enjoy life. It's short. So God bless you all.
You too. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed this. Apologies for the dog again. But
No problem.
This is life.
It's life.
It'll be quiet as anything now. Now that I'm going to give him attention, it'll be quiet as anything. But as soon as you see a bird flying past, go, roar!
Yeah.
The bird goes.
Yeah.
A couple of things from this is I'll send over the Pinterest collab that will be able to help you. I'll send over, and I think I'll probably send over somebody else's, but I think it'll be a lot better if I'm honest. A link to this gentleman that goes through the best paid sites to go through.
Okay.
I think click the link and it will just take you straight to it, rather than with mine, it hasn't got that. So I'll send that over to you as well. And as I say, and just really getting your paid promotions again. These just invitations. If you just see what feels right for you and take it from there, because people say you have to do this, you have to do that. You don't. Your book is now out there. It's a baby. It's going to last for a long, long time. It's just a short what you're doing at the moment. So we'll just see how it goes, because it will develop and improve, and you can always go back to it.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and you have a wonderful evening, I guess, there now. So,
Yeah, we'll do.
if I can ever do anything, just you know how to get a hold of me. So thanks so much.
You're welcome. Take care.
Oh, you too. Bye-bye.